in eastern Ukraine, the biggest motivator for the beginning for the church was actually the young ambassadors. They came through and they did a dancing tour. And in Donetsk, everyone was thrilled. They thought this was amazing. Didn't immediately have the opportunity to preach the gospel, but many of them stayed in contact with some of these young ambassadors and would accept missionaries later on. Before the war and the rebellion happened in Donetsk, there were enough people to gather a stake. This had happened beforehand. The history of the church in Donetsk is that once there was announced to be a stake and a temple going into Kiev, many people left and went to Kiev because they felt like that was Zion, that was the promised land. And so even though Donetsk had a very high baptism rate for a long time, there was a tendency for people to get baptized in Donetsk and Kharkov and then move to Kiev. Which is good for Kiev. They have a very strong membership there. But it was something that we struggled with for a while. Kind of like the people who would keep on moving away to go to Utah in the old days. Kiev was the new Zion. But Donetsk in and of itself has a lot of people who are very humble. The industry there is all metalworking and mining. When you go up north to Kharkov and Sumy, it's a little bit different. They have more of a college town, there's more industrial works, or it's a farming community and it's not very big. But down south, it's very much centered around industry, around metals, around mining. And it reflects in the people. You'll often see men with lots and lots of black, as if they were putting on very heavy mascara all around their eyes. That's not mascara, it's coal dust. And so they're often very strong and very tired from the work that they've been doing. The members, though, one of the things that was common in the Donetsk mission when I was there is that we had one of the highest sacrament meeting attendance rates for non-members. We were always inviting people. We were always inviting people, and people were always coming because the members were welcoming and open to people. You sometimes get accustomed to thinking of Russians as everything you see on the movies, where they are nothing but beard and vodka and snow and hating life. And that's not true. There's so much joy and happiness that sometimes as soon as you get through that first crust, that first sort of rocky, I don't know who you are, I don't know if I can trust you, if you're part of the KGB coming to arrest me or not, which was a real problem. There's still a tradition where you do not shake hands through a doorway. And that started after 1918, because what would happen is that in order to fill an arrest quota, they would arrest you and they would just pull you by your arm out of your apartment so that they could make an arrest without having invaded your home. So technically keeping the law. And so now, even now, it's considered impolite to shake hands through a doorway. You step inside. And that's very much a sort of common theme to the culture. On the outside, they may seem distant, but once you get inside, they are your friend for life. There's a saying that they have that a man can only have one or two friends. And the word for friend, drug, is actually from an older word, druzhina, which means bodyguard. They consider you to be a very true friend and very dear. For this reason, many of the members will still remember who their missionaries were, and they are still very dedicated to the missionaries, and they want to help, and they want to be of any use that they can, because they feel that since you are a missionary, that you are also their friend, and so they are very willing to protect you, to keep you under their wing, to feed you lots. But that's a spirit that they very much have. Another thing that I hadn't expected is how powerful the influence of the temple is. The Kiev temple was dedicated in 2010. Many of the members stayed for all 3 sessions. Whether or not they knew both Russian and Ukrainian, many of the people in the East only know Russian. They know Ukrainian because it was taught to them in schools, and so they can understand it basically, but they speak Russian. But it didn't matter, because the temple was coming. The Russian Orthodox and the Ukrainian Orthodox faiths do believe in the importance of marriage. There are two different kinds of priesthood. In order to be part of the higher priesthood, you must be married. It's understood that you cannot understand how to lead a congregation as a priest unless you are married and experiencing the same things, unless you have children. The word for marriage, when not in a secular sense, in a religious sense, is venchania. It means crowning. They have a lot of teachings that are very related to the temple and are very strong, and it touches their heart. Their favorite hymn is If You Could Hide a Kolob. They believe in the eternities. They are very open to this. And if you are willing to talk to them about the doctrines that they already have, the truths they already know, they'll be very open to your message.